Yesterday, the UK government began raids of multiple homes, arresting multiple people whom they deemed were working illegally in the UK. Watch. The government claimed that they promised the British people that they would secure their borders and crack down on criminal gangs bringing illegals to the UK. So that was the reason for the arrest. Watch.
The rules really need to be respected and enforced for the asylum and immigration system to work. That's why since the election, we have been increasing returns, so 19,000 people who have no right to be in the UK have now been returned.
Now guys, do you think this was something done, or it's just propaganda by the Labour government to win more votes during the next election? Come to think of this, just a few days ago, the Conservative leader Cami Badenoch and other MPs pressured this government and challenged them, saying they would increase the ILR and citizenship qualifying period from 5 to 10 to 15 years, ban many people from coming, and so on.
If you want to stay in our country permanently and apply for indefinite leave to remain, the time you have to live here before you apply will increase from 5 years to 10 years.
And the government needs to work hard on integration. You can't just sit back and say, well, as long as you get a good job and don't commit crimes, that's fine. That is too low a bar.
The Labour government had nothing to show up on their plan. They were only saying they would crack down on criminal gangs, but were unable to show any proof of a single criminal gang they've cracked. This has not been up to a week, guys. Now, after a few days, about a week, the government now released videos that show police arresting migrants in some locations. They say it's hotels and business places, but this does not look like any of those places they mentioned. Secondly, the faces of both the police and the migrants are all covered. So far, are we sure that this was not just some random arrest video that was picked somewhere to prove that they are working? Or how far are British people sure that you didn't just act this to deceive the British people? British citizens must not fall into this deception. This does not look real. Let's not fall for this. The truth is that this government keeps prioritising others against their own people, especially Islamists. The Prime Minister does not even care about anyone in the country. He is just there for his personal benefit. Before we continue, our channel was removed because we exposed all the dark secrets of Islamists and what is not correct in our society that the mainstream does not cover. But we've created a new one. Just go to YouTube and search for @TravellerNews14, all in small letters. And you can subscribe for more news. Let's look at some comments on what the British people said when the Home Office posted this video yesterday on X. Sars said, "No faith at all. Those figures mean nothing. How about confidence in the UK's justice system?" Paul said, "You're letting more in than you deport, and these people are mostly people who've overstayed their visa. You let an Albanian heroin dealer stay because his son likes chicken nuggets. And how many volunteered?" Angel Said, "The public doesn't have confidence as nothing is done to stop the boats. Money is still being spent on hotels, housing and benefits. No human rights lawyers are screaming." That says a lot. This one was from Kathy Morgan, AFH. "We have no faith in you or your weak system. Where are the receipts for these so-called deportations? Which countries were they returned to? Were they already living amongst us? Were they illegal? What crimes had they committed? Because we haven't seen one deportation of a criminal. Were any of them failed AS on that huge backlog? Real numbers, please, and names, ages, and have they been warned never to return?" Well, you can see for yourself that the British people do not even believe this so-called deportation made by the Labour government because they're not sure a single person has been deported. In a dramatic turn of events, the UK government has launched what it claims to be a major crackdown on illegal immigration, conducting raids across multiple locations. This sudden enforcement action comes amid intensifying political pressure and public debate over immigration control, raising questions about the timing and authenticity of these operations. The government's official narrative presents these raids as a fulfillment of promises made to the British public regarding border security and combating criminal organisations involved in illegal immigration. However, the timing and presentation of these operations have sparked scepticism among various observers and political analysts. This enforcement action follows closely on the heels of a significant challenge from Conservative MPs, notably led by Kami Badenoch, who recently proposed stringent immigration reforms. These proposed measures included extending the qualifying period for indefinite leave to remain, AILR, and citizenship from 5 years to potentially 15 years, along with other restrictive measures. The Labour government, facing criticism for its perceived lack of concrete immigration policies, had been particularly vulnerable on this issue, with critics pointing out their inability to demonstrate tangible results in tackling criminal networks involved in illegal immigration. The swift transition from apparent policy inaction to highly publicised enforcement operations within a matter of days has raised eyebrows across the political spectrum. The government's release of video footage showing these operations has come under particular scrutiny. Several aspects of these videos have fueled doubts about their authenticity. The locations shown don't clearly match the government's descriptions of hotels and business establishments, and both law enforcement officers and alleged illegal immigrants have their faces obscured in the footage. These peculiarities have led to questions about whether the videos represent genuine enforcement activities or staged operations designed to create an impression of action. The lack of verifiable details and the controlled nature of the released footage have contributed to growing skepticism about the government's claims. The political context surrounding these raids cannot be ignored. With the Labour government facing increasing pressure to demonstrate its commitment to immigration control, the timing of these operations appears conveniently aligned with political necessities rather than operational imperatives. Critics argue that this might represent a hasty attempt to counter Conservative proposals rather than a well-planned enforcement strategy. The government's approach to immigration has also faced criticism regarding its priorities and biases. Some observers argue that the current administration's policies reflect a disconnect from the concerns of British citizens, with accusations that certain communities receive preferential treatment while others face increased scrutiny. The role of media representation in this situation merits particular attention. The government's control over the narrative through selective release of footage and information has led to questions about transparency and accountability in immigration enforcement operations. The absence of independent verification of these raids has only fueled skepticism about their authenticity. Looking beyond the immediate controversy, these events highlight broader issues in Britain's immigration debate. The tension between political promises and practical enforcement, the role of media in shaping public perception, and the challenge of maintaining public trust in government actions all come into focus. The situation raises important questions about the effectiveness of publicity-driven enforcement actions versus sustained strategic approaches to immigration control. While dramatic raids may generate headlines, their impact on systemic issues related to illegal immigration remains unclear. As British citizens grapple with these developments, the need for transparent, verifiable information becomes increasingly apparent. The public's ability to distinguish between genuine enforcement actions and political theatre depends on access to clear, independently verified information about government operations.